Hey everybody, it's your course director Emily Ray here. Just wanted to provide you with a little bit of positive, productive feedback on your portfolio websites as you move into this next month. One of the reasons why I've held back on giving you feedback until now is that I wanted to allow the peer feedback process to unfold, to get a little bit of comment and insight from your fellow classmates on your sites. And to give you a little bit of reflection time on what it is that you created. Many of you have expressed pride in these portfolio sites, and I'm so glad to hear that. Moving forward into Portfolio 3, you're going to be spending a lot of time enhancing what you created here. And so please use this feedback to help guide the revisions that you make in the upcoming weeks. So let's jump over to the portfolio sites. All right, first up, we have the portfolio site of Alex. First things first, very clean in its appearance, a nice color scheme going on here. This blue, the light blue on top of the dark, provides a nice color contrast and very clean with the white. One thing I will say though is you've got your name up here kind of as a text-based logo, and then in smaller thumbnail size image of you here. One of the things you can look forward to doing in Portfolio 3 is working on a personal brand logo. So I'd like to see that take the place of what we have going on up here. You've got your contact information up here in the header, which is nice because it will be available on every page. And then kind of this tagline behind the camera lens, which lets us know that you have an interest in film, TV, videography type work. Your name here, so Alex, and then your portfolio, that's kind of redundant, right? Because you've already identified yourself up here, and then again you say, hi, my name is Alex. And so what I would do is streamline this a little bit because it's pushing all the rest of this content down on the page here. Scrolling down, we see, a few images of you working in some pretty cool capacities here, both as a videographer or photographer in different realms, perhaps editing in this one. So it's cool because it's showing you at work. As I'm hovering over each of these pictures, some of them have a little bit of metadata like wedding videographer, but this one doesn't. Director reel on that one, key production assistant here. And so as I'm hovering over this, I'm wondering, what is it that you want me to know, or what is it that you want me to do in each of these places? Are these kind of work samples? It's kind of a disconnect. I don't have any information. It doesn't say click on one of these images to find out about this project or the work that I did here. So more clarity is needed in this area. But I am going to go ahead. So this one says Key Production Assistant. I click on it. And it looks like it takes me to just a page that shows you doing your work, which is great. But I'd like to know more. You give me kind of a title of what you did here, but what was the project? Where was it? What was the focus? What did you learn? What equipment did you use? All of this stuff would become very keyword-rich content that would help people be able to find you who are looking for these types of services. So scrolling down again, I'm just going to click on another one here. So your director reel, it takes me to this video. One thing that it does when I enter the page is that it autoplays. And so you want to make sure that that does not happen because it is a user experience consideration. You never know the position that your user or your visitor is in when they come to your site. I may or may not be in a position where I can watch this video, and you kind of don't want to have it autoplay to impose that on me. So you want to allow them the choice of whether or not to play this. And you identify this as your director reel, but what more information? I need more context to understand, why are you showing me this? Like what are you intending to showcase, highlight about your work or your experience? So I'm going to go back here to the main page. We've got a little contact, nice simple form here. You've got your social media icons here, so it looks like this is going to link out to your YouTube. And then your contact information shows up down here too. I might say that having this contact form and then your email and stuff down here is a bit redundant because functionally they do the same thing. They send you a message. So you might opt for one or the other in that regard, especially since you provide that information already here up at the top. So jumping next to gallery, okay, so that just drops me down to this part of the page where I can explore what I'm assuming are individual projects that need a bit more explanation, and then contact is just going to drop me down there. Overall, this is a great start, but really what's needed is some more development in terms of your personal brand, some streamlining of this introductory information, and more explanation in the context to understand these projects that you are highlighting. Next up, we've got Andrea's site. So very bold in its appearance, colorful, clean. Love the consistency of the color palette and the weight of the the typefaces and the fonts that you're using here. So we've got print, digital, video, and other. We've got your social media icons down here. Just a quick copyright information. At this point, you guys, I would feel free to remove the free advertisement for Wix, the proudly created by Wix. At this point, this site is proudly created by Andrea, so I might just update that, because as long as you're using a free site, they are going to tag it with these ads, so no sense in you giving them more space than they're already taking here on your site. So I'm going to click around to see what we can see. We've got your name up here, print, digital, and video, but it doesn't really give us any information at the start about kind of your aim or your focus, or the do you have kind of like a job title or a career focus, maybe just a summary statement of the kinds of work that you are seeking out. Surely looks like you have experience in these areas, but what is it that you want to do? What are the services that you want to provide? I'm going to jump next to the resume page. So here, it's very clean. I like that you have, you have this as text on the page, so I can highlight it and copy and paste it, or have it be found by a search, engine. A lot of people tend to just provide maybe a screenshot of of a Word document or a PDF, because they want to try and preserve more of a print layout view. But I'm glad to see that you have arranged it in such a way that this information is still usable online. So here in the portfolio, we've got print, video, digital, and the other works. So I'm assuming that this is going to take me to the same place that these do. So jumping first to print. We've got, it looks like a whole bunch of different types of graphic design, flyers, and whatnot. So I'm going to click on one. It says V2 flyer, and it shows kind of this larger image of what I'm assuming is something that you digitally designed or had a part in, but I'd like to know more. So is this the title of this? Can you give me more information and context to understand what you've created here and why you're sharing it? What are the skills that you're attempting to showcase? What is the software that you use to create these things? And that feedback is going to go for every single one of these, right? So anytime that you are providing, say, an example of graphic design, provide the information. This is redundant: promotional poster, and so a short description here of the project and what it is that you are attempting to showcase. And basically, if you design something, you're designing a solution for a question or a problem. If you can articulate that and explain it, the more people will understand what it is that you've created and why. I am going to go next to your video editing page. So here, it looks we've got a couple samples. So we've got a title, which is great, and then I can play it in the page here. But what I'd like to see again is a little bit more contextualization, short description, summary statement about this piece. What did you create it for? What were the skills that you used? Because like you're showing video here, but were you the cinematographer? Were you the camera operator? Were you the editor? Did you use specific equipment? Did you use specific software to edit it? These are things that become keyword-rich content that will help your site get found by people who are looking for professionals with your skills. Jumping next to digital. So here, I'm not quite sure what the difference between digital and print is, right? So is this just, okay, okay, photo manipulation. So one of the things that I'm seeing here is that there was a little bit of disconnect for me between what's the difference between print and digital, and the only way that I got that was by hovering over these. So photo manipulation, software screen design. What I would maybe do is on each of these pages, just a summary description of kind of the category of what we find here, just to make it a little bit clearer as to the organization of the page. And then other works. So here, you know, you have a lot of beautiful things that you've created. One of the things that I would do, Andrea, is think about this idea of curation, right? So like you have a number of skills to showcase. What is the type of work that you ideally want to do in the industry, and can you select, kind of edit yourself into selecting pieces that showcase those particular skills, so that they can, so that you can attract more work in that area. Just something to think about there. Last but not least, looks like we got bio. So just a little bit of info. Is this blue the first time I've seen this color? I'm wondering if that's kind of a departure from this palette that you have shared here. It looks pretty. I love the, you know, your site is so colorful and nice. I love that you have, you know, really been concise in what it is that you've shared here. You've taken your user into consideration. Looks like there's kind of an arbitrary line break here. You might want to put more of a carriage return to give that same consistent spacing. And we've got a contact. So one of the things that I see is kind of a slightly different, so this looks like it's an image on the page, right? So this is no longer selectable text. I can't search by any of these things. So I might, again, on the front homepage, describe yourself as a multimedia graphic designer, have this particular information be words on the screen, not an image of words. And then I would also, you know, I see kind of like a little bit of inconsistency like in the branding, right? So if fearless expression is how you want to identify yourself, why is it that I'm only seeing it here? So as we mentioned in a little bit earlier in this archive, Portfolio 3 is when you're going to have some time to think about your personal brand and how it is that you want to represent yourself online and in the industry. Last but not least, I would perhaps consolidate this contact page with what we see here on the bio, because there's really, you know, not much information or functionality on either one of these pages, and to have this be a drop-down. So this is a parent page, and then think of it like a folder, and then what's kept inside that folder should be relevant to what the folder has been titled, right? So like if I had a folder that was called coupons and I looked into that folder, I would see various coupons, right? So bio doesn't seem like a folder that a contact page fits in logically. So I would consolidate this and make it a little bit easier for your user. Next up, this is India's page. One of the things is noticeably absent is any identification or branding information to let us know who you are and what it is that you want to do. I see you've added a couple of projects here. So as I'm hovering over this and clicking, I just see the Real Deal Tacos logo. I'm assuming that eventually you want to link this to the site that you created, but at this time it kind of makes it look like you were the designer of this logo. Which you know is not correct in this case. So you know, think about what it is that you're showcasing here and make sure that you're explaining you know, what you created and your part in any particular project. Looks like we've got your Lake Worth graphic design project here. It seems like you've got a business card, but it's cut off, right? And I'm clicking on it to see if there's a larger application, and there is not. And so you don't want to trim the artwork or the you know, the area of what it is that you've created, so as to not be able to see it in its full capacity or grandeur. So you need to rethink how you're presenting these pieces so that they can be fully seen. And again, the context to understand what you created and why. So here you've got Lake Worth longboards again, but there's no distinction, right? Like how is this piece different from this? Is this a logo? I'm assuming that it is, but I need some more context to understand that. Here it looks like we've got, you know, I'm not sure. It's a, you know, it's a photography of some kind, but as I'm clicking on things, you know, I'm not getting any more. Is it a logo? Is it a link that's supposed to be linked to another site? Is there supposed to be pictures here? It looks like we've got social media icons down here at the bottom, but they are in fact linking to various Wix sites. So those need to be updated with your own individual site presence. On the About page here, okay, so we've got a short bio. It says Full Sail University graduate dedicated to helping make the most of your business. So it talks a little bit about, you know, that you're here to help. But there's really nothing. It says that you have a background in hospitality, but what you're showcasing here is media design related skills. And so what I would say is, what is the type of work that you're trying to get? Because you're sharing media projects, but only reference being in the hospitality industry. So there needs to be a bit more clarity there. And again, there's still nothing that reflects your name to identify this site as yours. And I'm not sure how to understand these logos that you've shared down here. So that's going to need a bit more explaining. Last but not least, we've got something that says blank page, and it looks like it's, oh, okay. So I guess the link that you had provided was the link to this blank page, which was your projects. Okay, it's getting a little clearer here. So this would need to be titled projects or portfolio. Boom, back on the home page. We do have your name here, which is great, and an identification of marketing and media developer, which is awesome, but nothing up here in the header. So you could see as I clicked to these other pages, I had no idea really whose site I was on. Another thing here, you've got like kind of a nice image of you know, someone working at a computer here in the background, and it takes full screen here. But like, think about the value of this area above the fold, and are you maximizing the usage here? So you share, you know, there's not much else here on this page besides a contact form, and it looks like a space for some blog posts that don't exist yet. So this is all pretty bare, but it is a start and a good foundation to build on. So thinking ahead, we need to add some clear identification and branding information up here in the header. We need to make sure that these pages are labeled intuitively according to the content that we're going to find there. You need to relink these social media pages and to provide a lot of context about each of the projects that you've shared to help us understand what you created, your role in that project, the software that you use, the equipment that you use, what was your unique approach to providing a solution for whatever design related project or problem that you were addressing. Next up, we've got the side of Ashley. So very strong visual impact immediately. One thing that I'll say is that your name is teensy tiny up here. I'd like to see it take a little bit, you know, of a bigger presence here on the page, because you are in fact the focus of this portfolio website. We've got home, my work, about, and contact. A very, you know, captivating image, and then we've got just kind of a tagline: create, captivate, inspire. So it doesn't really tell us that much about you, but kind of alluding to the fact that you're into creative work. We have create period, captivate period, inspire no period. So you want to be consistent with however it is that you are, you know, laying your content out and articulating it on the page. I'm going to go to my work. So it's taking me, all right, it took me to another page. I need to go back to the home page here just to see what content is on here. So a little about myself. So you've given just a really nice short blurb. One thing that I'll say is it looks like this is an arbitrary break where myself comes down to the next line. It seems like there's plenty of room for it up here. Not sure why it's jumping down there. A really cool photo of you. I wouldn't use this ampersand in the middle of a sentence, so that's good for titles and things that are like statements, but not grammatically correct in this case. It looks also like here you need another line break. But then we've got a gobbledygook URL. This is a straight up, you know, HTTP URL. This needs to be meaningfully titled, right? So that was one of our very first lessons, whereby you give your links a title that is descriptive of the content that you're going to find there. So that needs to happen. Learn more, I'm assuming that's going to take to the About page, which it does. So I'm going to go back really quick to the home page just to make sure I get everything that's intended here. It's cool, you've got your mission statement, but we've got this dangler again, right? So one thing, you know, you don't, if you can, you want to make sure that you're laying out your information to not kind of arbitrarily break in weird places to give you just kind of this dangling word. What I would do is I would take mission statement, I would put it up here kind of as a main subheading title, and then I would use a slightly different font or different weighted font to share this information here. Again, I would change this to A and D instead of the ampersand. We've got a self-portrait here, but no real description of what this is. So a summary statement, a title, let us know what you did for this piece, what you created with, how you edited, all of those things can help us get more of an idea of the skills you're looking to showcase. Under portfolio, we've got a few pieces here, but I'm hovering over them and I'm not really seeing the ability to click or expand them in any way. So I don't know how to understand this, right? Like, I don't know, are you showing me graphic design? Are you showing me a website? Are you showing me branding, marketing? These are all things that need to be explained so I can understand the value of what it is that you created. We've got the get in touch here. So we've got your social media accounts that do look like they're linking out to your various presence on the web, and a contact me, which is going to take us to that contact page. So let's just jump really quick to my work. So here, check out some of the projects that I've created, which is cool. Another link to the contact me. We've got the mousetrap. So we see a lot of information here, which looks like a logo, and then maybe it's an ad, maybe it's a business card, and then I see down here, advertisement for Mousetrap Mini Golf, or Evolution Church logo, or website for Real Deal Tacos. All this information is kind of put on a page in such a way that it's not clearly delineated, right? It's hard to know what to associate with what. I would look for ways to, think about a gallery wall. You don't put all of your pictures clustered all together unless they are a central theme, or unless you're making some sort of statement about that way. If you think about a gallery, each piece is set up in such a way to let that piece shine, because if it's unique, you don't want what's unique about that piece to make you assume or infer something about the other pieces close by it. So again, this is kind of just very jumbled. I would look for ways to make each of these pieces stand out more individually. On the About page, you just have some fun little picture collage here. That's nice. And then a little bit about you, your experience and skills, and a link back to your portfolio. And on your contact page, just a simple form of how to get in touch. Overall, this is a really strong start, Ashley. You have some great work here, and thinking about how you want to present yourself online and how it is that you want to showcase the work that you're sharing should really be your focus for Portfolio 3. Next up, we've got the site of Savannah Gagne, but one thing that confused me is I'm looking up here and it says James Coleman Home. So I'm not quite sure, a little bit of a disconnect about that. We've got this cool image that makes it look like you are a singer. And as I'm kind of hovering in this area, I can see that it does in fact say that you're a musician there. This picture kind of gives the impression that musician is like the number one thing that you do because of the relevancy of the imagery. So if musician is not your number one thing or not what you want to showcase primarily on this website or this portfolio, then I would select a different image. If musician is what you want to be the focus, then I would put that first. So there's a lot of diversity in these terms of what you're sharing. Certainly, it is it is possible for you to capture this dynamic picture of who you are, but a lot of thought needs to be put into how you do that. So we've got discover here. As I'm scrolling down, we've got a little bit about me. So one of the things that I see here is a really nice short introduction summary statement, but you never want to center align text because it makes it harder to read, because as in English, we read from left to right. Every time that we finish a line and our eyes wrap to the new place, it's easier for the readability of the information if there is a is a straight line, and that the information is aligned left, because having these different starting points in every place is a little bit more taxing in terms of reading. So again, when you're creating content for the web, you want to make sure that it is as easy as possible for your visitors to consume. So here we've got my work, array of projects that you've done. So website, music, designing, and videography. It looks like these are kind of thumbnails of those things, which is, cool. And if I click on each of these, it's going to take me to another location. So videography is going to take me to YouTube. Designing is going to take me to, it looks like it's taking me to your blog post. Music's going to take me to SoundCloud, and website's going to take me to this Real Deal Tacos. You've got a great collection of work, but what's needed here is more contextualization, information, title of what it is that you created, why, what was your role, what did you do on the project, give more information to help us understand, the full scope of what it is that you created. On your blog. So here, keep current with your blog of your schoolwork. So it looks like this is just a link out to another location. Ideally, Savannah, everything would be in one place. So here you're sending me all over to see these different projects, and you're sending me here to your blog. It'd be nice that you had a one-stop shop whereby your blog was included in this site, whereby, you've given me, if this is, if you wanted to showcase your Real Deal Taco website, what you would do is you would maybe give me a screenshot of the homepage, tell me a little bit about the site, and then link me out to the other location. So I'm not having to click and go, click and go, click and go every time. So really nice photography, pictures of you. We've got links to your various social media accounts online, which is nice. I'm going to just click on these things. So discover. So we've got your mission here. And then it looks like, so we've got your resume here, but it is just a picture of words, which means a search engine will never find this resume because it's a collection of pixels in the shape of words. All of this needs to be selectable text on the page. Blog is going to take me to your school blog. Contact is going to take me just to this basic contact page. So a little bit of a disconnect here, again, is like we've got this, it almost looks like an ad, Simply Me. Is that your brand? Is that a tagline? Because it's not consistently used throughout, so I don't know what to do with that. Here you title yourself as a media communication specialist, but on the home page you've given yourself web designer, public relations, and musician. So it's kind of inconsistent in your phrasing and how you refer to yourself. And again, this is kind of like a ghosted image here, and because it's just a picture, let's say I wanted to copy and paste your information somewhere. I couldn't do it because it's just a collection of pixels in the shape of words. Overall, this is a really strong start. What's cool is that you have so much content to choose from. I would say the challenge would be to think deeply about how it is that you want to present yourself moving forward. Does it make sense for you in the work that you want to do to put your music on the same page as your media design? That's a question that you're going to need to answer for yourself when you think about developing your personal brand. Let's see here. Next up, we've got Sarah's site. So very clean on first appearance. High, quality photography here. Looks, it's all very similarly themed. So the aesthetic is super consistent and appealing. Clear branding information up here at the top. We've got portfolio. So each of these is images. I'm trying to click on them, and I would like to see them kind of extend in a lightbox effect so that I could see the full image here. We've got your social media, and it looks like it is in fact linking out to various places on the web, so that's great. But because the focus here is on photography, I'd like to be able to see each of those quite a bit bigger. Jumping next to the About page, just a simple, bio here. You've done a nice job of not giving too much text. These are a little, a little dense, but you do a nice job of laying it out on the page and framing it with the photo that you have included. On resume, so this is what I like to see is it's just text on the page. So I can select this, which means that it is findable by search engines. You give a little bit of your work history, and you also talk about your experience, which is great, because that kind of gives us a little bit more insight into the work that you do and that you want to do. Blog. So here we've got just looks like a couple of posts about different things, which is cool. One of the things is that like this text, it's oddly sized compared to how you're sharing information in other ways, right? So it's kind of spaced out, like there's like letter spacing. If we go to the resume, we don't see it there. If we go to the about page, we don't see it there. You want to be consistent from page to page on your website. All page titles should look the same. All body text should look the same. So what we see here needs to be consistent on the other pages. Last but not least, we've got a contact form here, and it looks like you've got your email address and then a contact form. It's a bit redundant providing both. Some people like the contact form because you don't have to copy and paste this email address and put it in your own email client. Some people like the contact form as well because you seem to get less spam that way. But definitely up to you to think about how it best fits your needs. Overall, this is super clean, and just a few tweaks is going to make this even stronger. Last but not least, we've got the site of Matt Costa. So a very cool logo initially here on the page. Matt, you're going to have an opportunity to work on this even more in Portfolio 3, which I think that you'll enjoy. At this smaller size, you can see that it's not quite as clear. What I might do is have an alternate version of this that separates the light bulb aspect out, and then maybe put your name across in this area just to maximize the use of this space. Because having it here in both places is kind of redundant. So you might want to think about how can you, better use this available space up here in the header to showcase your design. So we've got home, about, portfolio, blog, contact. We've got your social media. As I'm hovering over them, I can see that they are in fact linking out to your other, various accounts on the web. Very clean, a clear message. So brand strategist up here, Bellingham, and these are the things that you specialize in. You've given us a very clear picture of this, but I will say that you haven't really used that much of this great space up here. We've got the logo again, and then just welcome. As I'm scrolling down on the page, I can see down here that you have your contact information, which is nice, and your mission statement down here, but everything's pretty cramped. Like you've given us, so much breathing room on all these elements up here, but then like when we get to the bottom, everything is really super smushed. Also, the idea of putting this drop shadow on this text makes it look kind of smudgy. You've given us a very clean design overall, but the drop shadow is giving almost kind of a blurry appearance. You can't get more color contrast between black and white. So if you are giving the drop shadow on this text because you feel like it doesn't stand out enough, perhaps what's needed here is a heavier weighted font than what we see here in a very thin capacity. One of the things that I did notice, and I think it's going to be a little bit more apparent, say on this page, right, is that as I scroll, the opacity of what we see here, it allows things to kind of come up underneath. And on pages that are a lot longer, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to read. So there we go. You can see as I'm scrolling down that overlay, we really lose the clarity up here of the header and makes these options almost, they still function, but I can't see them clearly really to click on them. So something that you want to think about is if you can bring the opacity up this to solid so that it scrolls behind it and not in a see-through capacity. Let's see, I'm going to go here to the About page. So just a really nice, clean layout here. You've established this edge here with this gray box. I might think of moving the image over more this way and then left aligning this text along this line that you've created here, which would give a slightly cleaner appearance. I like that you have given these short statements that you're a photographer, graphic designer. I'm not sure that the period is needed here. It's almost like a subtitle, so and not like a full statement. We've got links to your portfolio and your resume here. I'm going to click on the resume first just to see. So again, you give us lots of breathing room and then you cram everything over here. Is there a better way to lay this out? You have it, I'm going to try to, it doesn't seem like I can highlight it. Oh, there we go. All right, so you've laid it out in such a way that makes it scannable, but what I would maybe think about doing is having bolder headings and subheadings to make that information stand out a little bit more in terms of these different areas of the information and the text. The About Me is going to take us back to this page. I'm not sure that, we need that backlink when this would take us there. So you've got resume here and About Me, which I can get to in those, in the same place here. The other thing is that like on some links you provide this drop shadow effect and make it stand out, which is I think effective up here for the contact, but it seems arbitrary down here for the About Me. So just something to think about with the intention of the styles and things that you're applying. Why are you doing that? Let's see, next going to go, back to the About and then to Portfolio. So again, I can get to Portfolio here. Why do I need to get to it here? As well. So something to think about in terms of the navigation and the way that you are providing kind of a course for people to make their way through your site. Under Portfolio, you'd have established this black and white color scheme, and then you provide these logos in color, which definitely shows the the flexibility of the design you created, but it also kind of is a departure from this theme that you've already established. And again, cool logo, loving it, except it's redundant in all of these cases, right? And makes it, you're really kind of, again, cramming the information in this area, but providing this whole, unused space over here. I definitely encourage you to rethink how this page is laid out. So we've got a link to some photos. So here, I like that you have given us a title and then context to understand, what it is that you're sharing and why. So that's really nice the way that you've done that. Photography, the lettering weirdly wraps around here. And again, not sure. I'd rather see these images at a larger size than to have, and have it fill the available screen rather than to have this link and photography here. What if it just said photography up here and the photo was centered and maximized in terms of visual space? I'm going to go back to Portfolio and now see posters and flyers. So here we've got a slideshow, and in the same feedback applies. I'd like to see these in a bigger, in a bigger size, and you're just not maximizing the available space here. But again, happy that you are providing titles and then context to understand what it is that you've created. Jumping back to Portfolio, logos. So same feedback applies here. One of the things I would say is to provide, more of a carriage return between the title and maybe a different visual appearance of the title, bolder, slightly larger font, and then drop this down a line just to separate those a little bit more. So here for video editing, so I love that you include this information. Nikon, you edited it in Premiere, so all of that is really helpful to understand what it is that you've created. But I'm wondering, is this the best viewing option for this? You have a ton of time in Portfolio 3 to be thinking about how it is that you want to best display this work. One of the things is, like when I was on the video page, I didn't know that it was kind of a slideshow of videos initially because I didn't hover it over it, right? So first of all, you are going to have to count on me as your user to know to do that, and I didn't necessarily know it for the video because it looks different than all the other slideshows, so I just didn't assume the same functionality. it's always good never to assume your viewer knows anything in particular. So a little bit of descriptive instructional information here, because I might not have seen all of these if they weren't looping, right? So just thinking about how you want people to experience this site. If I'm a busy hiring manager, and I come to this page, and this is the same with all of your portfolio pages, is do I have the time to flip through all of these things and one by one? Or would it be easier to provide a curated experience of 3 to 4 of each of these things on a page? Give me a title, a summary description, and then, because I can scan that information very easily or look at the one that is most, interesting or visually appealing to me, I can check that one out in more detail, rather than kind of having to sift through, click through, click through, click through. Just have all of that information available for immediate consumption. So here we've got the blog, and you're a great writer, and you provide a lot of great resources and contextualization for everything you create. This is such a valuable collection of work in your blog in terms of writing samples, but also the articulation of your unique creative process. This here is one of the things that is going to set you apart in this industry, is your ability to do what you've shared here. My feedback is, again, with the opacity of the header, but then also this information feeling crammed on the page. You give us areas of great expansiveness, and then you give us areas of a lot of condensed information. And I'd like to see more of a balance here in the next iteration of this. Overall, you guys, these are great portfolio sites, and I very much look forward to working with you in Portfolio 3 on the next iteration.